A gas processing plant deep inside Russian territory goes dark on the radar of open-source trackers. Within hours, satellite imagery analysts and local monitoring channels start comparing notes. According to PBS's reporting, Ukraine carried out a new wave of long-range strikes, reportedly hitting a major Russian natural gas processing facility along with satellite communications infrastructure tied to military operations. That's the verified starting point here, and it's worth sitting with because it shows where this war's technological edge has moved. RETENTIONCHECKPOINT. 0 o'clock hook. Verified strike on gas plant and satellite comms. Zero o'clock FOOK. So here's the question worth asking. Why would a gas processing plant and a satellite communications hub end up on the same target list in the same night? They aren't obviously the same kind of target. One produces fuel. The other moves data. By the end of this, the connection should make a lot more sense than it does right now. RETENTIONCHECKPOINT. 030 resolution Ts. Why two different targets, one night? Here's what's actually known. Per PBS's reporting, Ukrainian forces conducted strikes targeting a large natural gas processing plant on Russian territory, along with facilities used for satellite communications that support Russian military operations. That's the confirmed frame. Two categories of infrastructure, energy and communications, hit in the same operation. Beyond that core reporting, specifics about the exact scale of damage, the number of impacts, or Russian casualties aren't something we're going to invent. Where sourcing is thin, we'll say so plainly instead of padding it with guesswork. I spent a good chunk of time this week going through the pattern of strikes like this one over the past year, and one thing kept nagging at me. This isn't a one-off. Ukraine's deep strike campaign has, per multiple defense-focused outlets and open-source analysts, clustered increasingly around two categories of Russian infrastructure: energy processing and refining sites, and communications or command support nodes. A gas plant and a SATCOM facility hit together fits that pattern rather than breaking it. Why gas infrastructure specifically? Natural gas processing plants aren't just about heating homes. Byproducts of gas processing feed into petrochemical supply chains, and processing capacity constraints ripple into export revenue, which economic analysts covering Russia's wartime budget point to as a meaningful pressure point for a state funding a prolonged war. Targeting processing capacity is a way of applying economic pressure without a single soldier crossing a front line. RETENTIONCHECKPOINT. 4 o'clock stakes bend. The economic pressure angle reframes what just infrastructure means. Satellite communications facilities are a different animal, and here's the part that doesn't make sense on the surface until you think about how modern militaries actually function. Ground forces, air defense networks, and even some strike coordination increasingly depend on resilient communications. And satellite links are a backbone for exactly that, especially when terrestrial networks are degraded or contested. Reporting on Russia's military modernization has repeatedly flagged satellite communications as one of the more fragile and more strategically valuable layers of that system. Take out or degrade a hub like that, and you're not destroying a weapon. You're disrupting the nervous system that coordinates weapons. Put yourself in the position of an open-source analyst that morning, watching contradictory claims stack up in real time. A Russian regional official downplaying damage, Ukrainian officials declining to confirm specifics, satellite imagery providers without a clear pass over the site yet. That's the normal fog around strikes like this, and it's exactly why we're not handing you a body count or a damage percentage nobody has actually verified. Here's a take that'll probably split opinion in the comments. Hitting energy infrastructure that also serves civilian needs blurs a line that shouldn't be blurred, even when the facility has clear military support value. Or, alternatively, in a war where energy exports directly fund the war effort, drawing that line is close to impossible in practice. We're not going to tell you which side is right, but it's worth asking yourself where you think that line should sit. The most surprising part of this case is not the target selection. It's how normalized this pattern has become. A year or two ago, a strike this deep inside Russian territory would have dominated headlines for days. Now it gets reported, analyzed by a handful of specialist outlets, and folded into a running tally that most casual observers never see. That shift says more about how this war has evolved than about this specific plant or facility. Would you have guessed, before watching this, that a gas plant and a satellite comms hub belong on the same target list? If you follow this conflict closely, drop your read on it in the comments. We read them. So where does this stand right now? Confirmed. Ukrainian long-range strikes reportedly hit a Russian gas processing plant and satellite communications facilities per PBS's reporting. Unconfirmed. The precise scale of damage, the operational status of either site going forward, and any casualty figures. Treat any specific numbers you see elsewhere with real skepticism until a primary source verifies them. What's consistent with the broader record is that both energy and communications infrastructure have become recurring categories in Ukraine's deep strike campaign over the past year, a pattern this incident fits rather than breaks. The honest takeaway here isn't a dramatic one. Modern long-range warfare increasingly targets the systems that keep a war machine running, fuel processing, and communications, rather than only the front line. Whether that's a smarter, less costly form of pressure or a dangerous blurring of civilian and military targets is a genuinely open question, and reasonable people who follow this war closely land on different sides of it. If this kind of grounded, sourced breakdown is useful to you, there's more of it waiting. Go check it out, and we'll see you in the next one.